It was very difficult for me not to be involved with music because both my parents are very musical. My dad, when he was 14, joined with his mum and dad, and he toured around Ireland, and my mum was a music teacher. My dad's music would be various sort of variation of sort of ballads, Irish ballads, to Glenn Miller type of hits that were happening at the time. And then the area I come from, known as the Gaeltacht area, the northwest of Donegal, means that you're brought up speaking Gaelic as your first language within that area, and there is a lot of Irish traditional music within that area as well. So I felt really lucky that I heard all sort of diverse music at a very young age. I wasn't aware of it, but I definitely was very determined to be involved with music.
I knew about Enya, and I knew she'd just finished college and she was into music, and I'd heard she had a good voice.
I met Nicky and Roma through my family.
Myself and Roma were managing Clannad at the time. In the same way as we managed Enya, I wore a couple of hats then as well. So I was doing their live sound.
And he'd asked me to join the band. The next thing, I'm touring around Europe for 2 years. And I loved it. I really loved it. But I have to say that after 2 years, I wanted to get back to where I was with my classical training.
I could see she had the potential for a solo career.
I was talking a lot with Nicky, and he had a lot of musical ideas. And he talked about sort of, for instance, like a layering of the voice. And I thought this sounded really fascinating. There are 3 people that have, are involved here. Myself, Nicky and Roma.
We started working together, I suppose, about 1982. And when we made the decision, okay, we want to do this, we put together a studio.
And the free time I had, Enya had that time. Enya was living in our house, and all these melodies started to come out. So we got together whenever we could. And then Roma started to write lyrics.
At the time, I'd said to Enya and Nicholas, the music's very visual. Why don't we think about soundtrack initially?
I started to compose piano melodies, instrumentals, and Roma found them very visual and thought they'd be suited to film work, and got in touch with film directors or film producers, and then got a script sent from David Putnam for The Frog Prince.
Something about the story reminded me of Enya and Enya's music, and I sent it to them, Roma and Enya, and they liked it a lot. And we worked, I think, 6 months. Well, they worked 6 months on the score of the film and delivered what I think is an absolutely gorgeous score, beautiful score.
And that was the beginning of working with soundtrack.
We heard they were making a BBC documentary on the Celts, so we thought, this is perfect.
We were working on a particular piece of music at the time, and we'd actually titled it The March of the Celts.
The main inspiration was historical, was Irish. You were relating the story of the Celts.
And I got a phone call from Tony Macaulay, who was a producer for the BBC in Northern Ireland, asking us, would we work on this new series called The Celts? I couldn't believe it. It really was an amazing coincidence. So he said, do you have any music you can send us down? So I sent him down this piece, and the director got back to us and said we could have the whole series, 72 minutes of music to do. And that's how the first Enya album happened.
Let me sing, let the Orinoco flow. Let me reach, let me beach, the shores of Tripoli. Let me sing, let me crash upon your shore. Let me reach.
to say that Orinoco Flow is a very important song because it introduced me worldwide.
It was the last track that we did on Watermark, and I think at that stage it was a touch of euphoria, there was a touch of excitement, and that's the way I was thinking at the time.
It was a song that needed time to arrange. So that's why it kept being shelved. We'd work on it for a while, believe in it, and then it was like, no, this isn't working, and we'd shelve it and work on something else. It was lovely to work on Watermark, the first solo album, but as far as like who the listener was going to be, how it would sell, and even, you know, never entered our heads to even sort of, you know, say we have a single, you know, because this music was so different. The first time I kind of sensed that the music was going to be sort of successful was when I was doing a photo shoot. I'd just done Top of the Pops the night previous with Orinoco Flow, and this gentleman, who was just a postman, was walking past, and he said, "Oh, what's this for?" You know, and it was for some paper. And then he said, "Oh, what do you do?" He asked me, and I said, "Oh, I sing." And then he said, "I don't listen to much music," but he said, "But last night," he said, "on Top of the Pops," he said, "you know, my children were listening," and he said, "But I heard this song, and I think it's great." And he said it was Orinoco Flow, and I thought, wow.
begins really when I write the music, and how I involve other people is when they listen to the music, and then they go away and they start to conjure up imagery to go with the music.
We talked about shooting at exterior and in forests and at night, and trying to create something a little bit magical by lighting at night and moving lights and things like that. And then I vanished off on holiday and didn't come back for 4 or 5 weeks. And in the meantime, the weather had got the better of us, and it was decided that we should move it indoors and construct the whole thing as sets. And fortunately for us, Rob came up with this idea of Maxfield Parish and using his paintings as references to the film.
Certain Maxfield Parish pictures came to mind, and with researching that, we came across a couple of fairy tale books from, I think, 1902, with illustrations in them. And we used some of these illustrations as the basis for all of the sets that we have in the video, and the idea sort of came from lots of people talking through how we could link these up to the musical interludes of the song. I've never seen a video like this looks like it's going to be, and we haven't seen the video yet, but I can't think of anything that's even similar. I mean, Wizard of Oz, probably.
Quiet everywhere. Roll playback. Turn over camera.
I suppose the painting of the chocolate factory really is the most challenging and the most obvious one to put on glass, because you can never build it. I mean, it would take a sort of 100-foot high studio and 20,000, 40,000 pounds just to create the steps alone. Glass painting is really just placing a piece of glass in front of the camera and painting through the camera and extending the painting to elaborate the sets, to glorify them. And so there's no limitations at all really on what you can put into a studio.
I got involved in this production when Cherry, the choreographer, and Rob from Warner were watching a performance at the Opera House, Covent Garden, and I was dancing Hobson's Choice. And the next day I had a phone call asking if I would do this video. I'm playing 3 characters. The first one, a butterfly catcher. The second is a man in the moon. And the third is an eccentric photographer.
Oliver was great. He had an amazing attention span. He could concentrate on things for a great period of time. And once you'd given him his 2, 3, 4 pieces of action throughout the shot, he would just keep repeating them again and again.
I don't think I've ever come across a 9-year-old child with that depth of concentration. We're halfway through the second day now, and the first day he concentrated for hours and hours and hours, and he took direction brilliantly. And once we got to know each other, we had to set up a relationship from very early in the morning, and once that was done, we were fine and we were a team, and he responded very well indeed.
I auditioned for it first, and when I came out, I said to myself, I'm not going to get this. But then Sarah or Amanda, I don't know her name, she phoned up and said that I had got it, and I was so surprised. I'm a sort of a normal boy, and then someone calls out my name, and then I just climb up this ladder into this sort of fantasy world that I go into. And there's lots of things that I haven't seen before.
call C, standing by. Ready, Rick? And what is? We'll play back.
Basically, we're turning reality into fantasy here, I think. The process that we did was we took all the live action, which was offlined and then neg cut, and then we turned it into photorotoscopes, which is what these photographs are called. Printed every third frame, which are all pin registered, so the animation is in register, and then we're actually just rendering on top with oil pastels, lots of smudging, enhancing areas, knocking back different areas, making it more sort of magical and golden. If you do it on the print, it means you've only got one chance of getting it right. Doing it on cells means you can also flip it to check what you're working on underneath. It just makes it easier, really. So you can see what the picture's like underneath, and then you can see how much you've enhanced it. And we're mixing through from frame to frame. So what that means is that you get the picture before, the frame before and the frame after actually coming through. So it's much, much softer. Instead of getting that kind of jerkiness that you get. All the bits that are just live action, the beginning, basically is untreated. As soon as he climbs into the painting and he becomes affected by the painting, then everything has rendering on it. Oh, we've got about 10 people. You can't have too many because you lose the actual style of things. I'm trying to keep it so that the same person works on a batch, because everyone has a slightly different way of doing it. I mean, the overall effect is the same. But, you know, if there are scenes where there are quite a few shots where the little boy is by the tree, so I'm just doing those myself so that they'd be the same. But basically we do models for each scene so that it can be followed through pretty consistently.
Working on the music, I'm solely concerned with each song as a little story, and it's only just toward the end you put them all together that you're aware of what is the difference between this album to any other previous album.
I think with anything creative, you try everything. You don't throw things out, just, you know, you try everything and you find out what gives you the best creative result.
It's very difficult to be the audience to the music, so the only way you can do that is by taking a piece of music and working on it for a while, and then leaving that for a little while, set it aside, try and forget about it, and then sort of write a next melody and concentrate on that. So therefore, when you go back to the first one, for a short time you can be a listener and you can decide, this is working, this is not working. You know, it's something that is there for life when you record the music, and you want it to be something that you're happy with. If we use African drums, if we use strings, pizzicato, if we use uilleann pipes, it's because it's there to enhance the music. We're not kind of putting a stamp on just for the sake of it. It's really the music that's kind of being dictative here. It's kind of like, it likes this sound, so it's fine. And it's also like, one of the rules we like in the studio is we like to try any idea and to be very open, no matter how strange the idea might be. We'll try it.
They spend very long hours in the studio because both of them are perfectionists. So if something is not right, they will not use it. And they'll have to go over and over it again, basically. And it's a very long process because of the way it works, in the sense that when you hear Enya sing, every voice she sings individually, it's not sampled.
From the first moment I've written the melody, it's kind of like it takes me on this little journey. And even on the arrangement, it does that as well, because there's been a case where we've had a totally different arrangement, myself and Nick, and came back the next morning and said, no, this is not working. We felt like we were losing the sense of what the melody was about. So therefore we erased a lot of what was there and went back to arrange again. So there's a lot of trial and error within every song.
We don't actually start an album with a central theme. We don't have a theme for an album and say, this is what it's going to be about. It develops. We're quite alike in the way we think about lyrics. With Nicholas, it's slightly different. He has a slightly different approach to lyrics than we would have. But certainly with Enya and myself, we think along the same lines.
I'd ruin everything. I mean, I remember once I actually stuck in one word into one of Roma's songs, and without realizing it, I changed the whole meaning of the verse, and she's never forgiven me for it.
To a degree, a lot of the lyrics are based on emotion, the feeling of the moment, rather than an actual event or story. So Enya and myself will tune into that quite a bit, whereas Nicholas prefers a story. But I don't write that way. Predominantly, I will write in English, obviously, but Gaelic is very, very important to Enya. It's a living language for her. It's a language she uses a lot. She comes from an area in Ireland that Gaelic is the first language, and you learn English.
I think my inspirations would come from people that have passed on, memories of them, but it can also be landscapes. I come from the northwest of Ireland, in County Donegal, and it's a very rural area, and mountainous, beaches, rushes, and it's somewhere I love to go. I feel just I need to get back to my roots, back to who I am, and there's nowhere better than to go home, because I find the people there know me as Enya, and they don't treat me any differently. They're proud of the success, but it's so lovely that they just talk to me as if I'd only just left yesterday, and that kind of keeps me very grounded, and that's very important to me. Something that I hope to do is to plan to put the music on stage, but it is something that has proven so far quite difficult.
She performed a lot 8 years ago. She did tours around Europe and performed, so it's something that's in the blood, basically, and she would like to do again.
I can hear orchestrating it, yes, but on the vocal side of it, I find it's got to be in some way that it's trying to get that emotional feeling.
A lot of the stuff you hear from Enya is multivocal, which she does herself, so someone will have to do that. So it will obviously require a choir, and probably a small orchestra, I would imagine.
You know, to go on stage and there's an audience there just solely for you, I mean, would be so wonderful.
It's the one thing I'd say about Enya. She doesn't let it go to her head. She's still very down to earth. She's great fun. She's a great sense of humour. I think that's all part of the secret, really, of the success.
You know, there's nothing I would change. I'm really, really happy with where I am today.
In the sky above.